Enter at your own peril, past the bolted door, where impossible things may happen that the world has never seen before. In Areelu's laboratory lives the smartest girl you've ever seen, but Razorfiend blows her experiments to smithereens. There is gloom and doom while things go boom in Areelu's lab. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Life's Unfair, my Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous playthrough series. Today, as you guessed, we are going to be tackling Areelu's lab. Let's get right into it. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode today because there are some tough encounters in here, but it's not a particularly large kind of area. It's in that awkward transition between a long zone and like one of the filler short zones. I wanted to give it its own episode because it is very important to the story, obviously, and I didn't want to kind of mix it in with the cleaning up our act, which I'm going to do at the end of the act thing. So yeah. One of the first encounters you run into here is a shadow demon thing, and like the ghost of the Sarkorian dude with the brazen whip, it's an encounter that it teleports away. Yeah, so it teleports away and you have to kill it a few times. So this is the first time you run into it. It's a fairly tough encounter. I want to say none of the encounters in here are ridiculous. There are two that are kind of ridiculous that I had to choose. Well, one that I really had to choose. But the rest of them are pretty manageable. So after the Shadow Demon, right, swarms of rats. Swarms are a pain in the ass, but Ember with her Ring of the Salamander, she makes short work of them. Right, we're doing pretty good here, right? Look at that. That was a level 18, and we just exploded it with like 2 hits. There. Now failed the use magic. I failed the Arcana check there. These are pretty tough. These things are terrible because so anything that crowd controls, that casts crowd control that you cannot resist is horrible, and this is one of the 2 creatures in here that casts it. That casts that kind of crowd control. So these things cast a stun that you really cannot resist, and they also tend to kind of ignore the front line as well. So you can see initially right now, right, they're on the skeletons, but boom. But you can see easily that one of them has peeled off the skeletons and now heading towards the back line. But yeah, there we go, right? It's peeled off, it's walking through the mass. But thankfully these things are super slow. They're super slow. So you could kite them very easily, assuming you can hit them. But if you get caught by their stun, you're screwed. There's a lot of loot in here. Here, a Midnight Bolt. That's the second Midnight Bolt we've gotten. Not sure what they're for. I've never used any of them. I'm guessing they have some role to play. I'm guessing it doesn't make sense that they're just like a 50 damage nuke. That seems pretty silly. There's definitely something more to them. So we pick it up. There's some recipes, some decent stuff here. Nothing. I don't think I picked up anything in here that I could really say that I use. We run into these guys. So these guys have been stuck down here forever. There's a Crusader, a Dwarf, and then you can see there's like a half angel, half demon thing trapped behind this barrier here. We don't know who that is just yet, but we get an idea eventually who that is. And she's Targona. She's very important. So we agree that we're going to find a way out. So these guys have been trapped down here for years. I don't know, what the heck have they been eating for all this time? Demons? What the heck? But we say that we're going to free them. We head on down to the old section of the lab and run into this guy, an old mongrel who's like, yeah, they were going to burn me, but Areelu saved me. And she kept me down here, and then we let him go, and he's like, well, they were going to burn me for a reason. I was really a witch, ha ha ha. And then he gets up and he basically gets destroyed. He does like 0 damage. So yeah, he's talking pretty big for somebody with like 2 health. Continue on. So the worst encounter in the whole zone is down here. It's not these, definitely not. So, there are generally lots of hallways here, and there are patrolling mobs. There was that Tarry Demodand upstairs. There's Minotaur down here. They're not too bad. They're single encounters. The guys in this room are a little bit tougher. Right, Minotaur. And yeah, you can see they do a lot of damage. They're destroying all my skeletons. And it's down to Razorfiend to tank. And here it is, Shadow Demon. It's here. This is the second time I fought it, but not the last time. So we take it down the second time without too much trouble. Teleports away again. Loot up, loot up. Right. I like the tile set in here. It's a pretty nice decor. Very, very well crafted decor, I want to say. So, you know, it's a very tightly packed area. There are just tons of encounters close together. Because it's not that large of an area. It's not like Winter Sun or anything, which is huge. It's very small, but a lot of encounters. So the worst encounter in the whole zone is behind that door. Not the second worst is behind that door, but the worst one is behind the door behind me here. Not these guys. So Omox, right? Not too bad. We've run into these guys a bunch of times. The only time they really gave us trouble was back in when we were clearing out Dresden initially. So now they're make short work of them. The next encounter in this room, the Shadow Demon, again, this is the third time that you encounter it here. So I got surprised here and I died, obviously. A lot of demons here that I was not, and you could see it just popped up there in the back corner. And yeah, so I had to reload, and what I decided to do was so this is the worst encounter in the game. Not in the game, but in this whole place. Look at that. 14, 17, and 4. And it just chained CCs. It is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, horrible fight. And yeah, I cheesed the hell out of it. Absolute cheese fest. What I did was I cast Blade Barrier through the door. You can't hit the main thing in there, but you can hit the Vrocks with it. You can hit the Vrocks easily, so I kill them. So there are 4 things in there. There are 2 Vrocks. What else is in there? Yeah, Coloxus Defiler as well, which casts some nasty stuff, and Nalfeshnee as well, which is the worst thing in there. So decide to even the odds a bit by taking out the 2 Vrocks, and then I'm trying to take out the Nalfeshnee as well this way, and maybe the Coloxus Defiler, but it doesn't work. So you can see I tried this a lot. You're seeing a lot of failed attempts here. So, but I did learn a lot here. So you can cast Fire Snake through the door. You can cast Blade Barrier through the door. Things like that can hit it. But unfortunately, it casts like a fire resist spell that makes it regenerate when it takes fire damage. So I'm not able to kill it that way. So I'm like, well, we're going to have to come back here. So we decide to take out the pack of mobs in this room, and they pull separately from the Shadow Demon, which is very fortunate. So we're able to just take out the initial pack here, pull them to the doorway. That way we create a choke point, and they do not get bored of my tank and run and kill everyone in the back. Yeah. Not too bad. They're high level, but Razorfiend is a pretty decent tank at this point. Yeah. Summon. Yeah, you can see those Soul Eaters that Darren can summon. It's an effect on one of the rings that he's wearing. It's pretty powerful. They do come in handy pretty often. So we take them, and obviously Restore Wisdom was drained, and then it's time to take on the Shadow Demon here. So this I had to attempt it a few times. It's tough in this encounter. It tends to ignore tank and stuff like that. It is a pretty tough fight. There, you can see I got wrecked. So in the end, it comes down to the good old-fashioned summoning strat. I don't have a lot of summons left in here, and I don't know where the exit is either, so I'm trying to be a little bit conservative. I don't want to just spam all my spells, because I don't know what I'm going to encounter later on. I don't know how many times I'm going to be able to rest. I don't know how far it is to the exit. I don't know if there's a boss, any of that stuff, right? All that plays into determining how comfortable you feel about using the spell. So I kind of have to space them out, make sure I only use exactly as much as I absolutely need. But we're able to take it down this time, right? It's focused on the between Razorfiend and the skeletons. It doesn't really lose interest, but you can see how much health it has. And for such a small, it's finally dead, right? So third time's a charm, goes down and stays down this time, doesn't teleport away, and grand total of 240 XP, hurrah, huzzah! Adventure awaits, huzzah! Right, so after that, head on back up to the Targona here and her friends, and I was trolling a bit there. And then we head on to the second part of the lab here, or third part of the lab, and we're witnessing everybody's kind of dreams here, all your party members that you bring with you. So this is Ember, right? It's not things that have happened to them, it's things that they kind of want. Their deepest desires and fantasies. And here, Wendog. This is why I think Wendog is going to betray me. Look at that. I'm kneeling down besides Hosela and Savamelech, and yeah, she wants to lord over all of us, and she has a convenient explanation for it here, but she's like, yeah, wouldn't everybody want that kind of thing? No, Wendog, you are an evil bitch, and I know you're going to betray me. Here's Darren, he's fantasizing about his cousin here. Yeah. He swings both ways, I guess. Yeah. But then, yeah. It's funny. Darren's hilarious. The interactions with him are ridiculous. And then on to Nenyo here, who's, of course, it's her encyclopedia, volume 120. Yeah. I wonder how old she would be by the time she made volume 120. It's hilarious. Yeah. She's turned back into a fox as well. And then the last one here is Arushale. Right, and she's fantasizing about me. Yay! But kind of demonic fantasies. Right, she wants to own me, to possess me. As a demon, a succubus would. Which belies her true nature, right? Sad. Sad, but she's trying. She's trying, and we are going to do everything we can to help her. And then it's straight into combat here, which is not fun, obviously, because if you fail, you have to re-enter the zone, and yeah, you just have to... So I did fail a few times because it is just immediately, and you can't summon stuff on the other side and bring it into here. You have to summon it while you're in here because it doesn't come with you when you transition through the zone, through that doorway there. And so it does take a bit of luck. It actually takes a lot of luck because there's a Coloxus Defiler in this pack as well, which didn't join these guys. If it had joined these guys, would have been a big problem because they're really tough. So we get pretty lucky here. I think it might be on a separate aggro table. I don't know why it didn't aggro this time, but we're able to kill those guys without it. And you can see, right, I wasn't able to save, and it was just standing there. It wasn't like 80% health. It had taken some damage, but it hadn't like walked towards us. And then I'm trying to pass this Knowledge Arcana check there. Takes a few attempts to pass it and figure out that this is like a living amalgamation of monster parts, which is pretty gross, but whatever. Areelu Vorlesh, right? Areelu Vorlesh's laboratory. Yeah, so she's trying some pretty sick stuff down here. But after that, we do just proceed onwards here. And yeah, now we have access. So Suture gives us... Suture's an interesting character. You know, he's a demon, but he's like... He was... What was he before? A Vrock or something? I don't remember what he was before, but he got transformed into that by Areelu Vorlesh or something, and he's like a deformed version, right? He's not even a normal variant of his demon, of the kind of demon he is. He's like a gimped demon, but he has intelligence, right? So what he lacks in body, he makes up for in mind. So he's a bit of a golem-like character, if we're being completely honest here. He's a bit of a golem-like character. For being later on, that comes into play as well, hilariously. So yeah, we pick up. So this the book here, the Lexicon of Paradox, Part 1. I'm sure it comes into play later, but you get a good view of. So you can see. That was Suture there that gave me the crossbow. So I guess it is important that you take the crossbow in the beginning. So there's two options in the beginning. You can take the crossbow or you can kind of run. I took the crossbow. And I guess it is important that you do take the crossbow. I wonder what would have happened if you had chosen to run there. So he gives us the key to open up the kind of corrupted areas, or the areas with the anti or the barrier that prevents everything but demons from passing through. And so we can pass through those areas now. And then there's a bunch of logs here, right? Just holographic logs that give you an idea of what Areelu Vorlesh has been doing down here in the time since she kind of established this lab. And now, right, Targona is surrounded by that kind of barrier as well, so we're able to free her, and we let them all go, right? So pass knowledge check here, and we can destroy the barrier, right? And Targona is, right, so she initially thought, I didn't know it was Targona. Initially, I thought it might have been an enemy, right? We let it out and then it just kills us, but no, it's Targona, and then she's just being corrupted a bit by the void, but she seems to have retained the essence of her angel kind, so she's still good. She just has kind of a messed up wing, but later on she kind of says that she's worried that the darkness from that wing will seep into her body and consume her soul, so she doesn't know exactly what the result of this is going to be. And that's actually one of the reasons why she doesn't want to return to heaven, because she's afraid, right, of what will happen. And she wants to help us in the crusade, but obviously she's not pure anymore, by her own admission. So the barrier over here, this is probably the second worst fight in the whole place. So I tried a few times to... So one thing that I will say that is extremely useful is if you start in non-turn-based mode, you can cast 2 fireballs back to back. So cast 1 fireball, pause the game while the fireball is in flight, and then start casting a second fireball. And that way, before the initiative roll goes through, both fireball spells will be cast, and yeah, it's a lot of damage. It makes a big difference, especially because every third fireball for Ember, because of the staff that she has, is empowered and maximized. So you cast the first two, and then the third one, which obviously goes after the initiative roll, whatever that puts her, is super strong. But basically 3 fireballs within at most 6 seconds of the fight starting. So the first two instant, and then the third one up to 6 seconds after, which is a huge amount of damage. So here, right, casting Fire Snake through the door, and you can see the 2 Vrocks are dead still. The Coloxus is still alive, but we're trying to, right, it has fiery body, so it cannot die to fire, well, it can die to fire spells. It takes more damage than it heals from them, but I'm not able to do enough damage. If you use meta magic to get multiple levels of the same spell, and you just get Fire Snake, like 5 levels of Fire Snake, you can probably just nuke it down through the door. I didn't know about that at this point. That's something that I only learned kind of later, towards the end of Act 3. And yeah, so definitely don't open the door, because the CC that this thing casts. So this is a terrible fight, but there's a fight in the Midnight Fane where you have to fight 3 of them. You have to fight 3 of these goddamn things together. That was absolutely abhorrent as a fight. I think that was the second worst fight in the Midnight Fane. The worst fight was the fight right before Playful Darkness. So Playful Darkness would be an absolutely terrible fight if you had to do it, if you couldn't cheese it, but it's very easily cheesable. So it's almost a trivial fight. But the 2 fights that you cannot cheese in the Midnight Fane, or cannot cheese without great difficulty, are fighting 3 of these things, and then there's a fight before Playful Darkness, which is just, yeah, horrible. So this thing, you can see the things that I'm trying here. Obviously, Blade Barrier. So I cast Blade Barrier, run away, and then I lead it, so it runs into the Blade Barrier, right? The Coloxus Defiler has cast its spells, and then so what I've done is I've set up basically a trap for it. I pull it into the trap, and then I run away. And there you can see Nalfeshnee died, and now we're good, right? The Coloxus Defiler died just before that to the previous set of fireballs, and the Nalfeshnee just died to those. And then you just come back here, remove your blade barriers, and boom. That's basically it. That is the last encounter in here. There's really nothing else, and you just interact with the rift and you get the hell out of here and you're free to go. Thanks for joining me, guys. Tomorrow, or when we pick up next, we will be going to the Ivory Labyrinth, I believe. Have a good one.